Welcome back to Second Breakfast and our ongoing horror discussions, bringing you the best thoughts, theories, and literary analysis this side of a cabin in the woods.
In this episode, we're discussing our unexpected reactions to Osgood Perkins' latest film, Keeper. Let's get into it.
All right, so this is a tough one.
Man, I'm so mad.
Yeah.
I'm mad. And this isn't just going to be a rant review. It could be, but it won't. But
we also don't do reviews, Maggie.
Well, exactly.
So yeah,
I'm clarifying.
We had a very bad crowd we saw this in theaters. I just want to acknowledge that and move on. But that wasn't the issue.
No.
The movie was rough too. And I think we have to contextualize this within Osgood Perkins because you absolutely fell in love with Longlegs. I haven't seen you pop off for a movie like that in years. I think that's probably the highlight of the decade for you so far.
Yeah, it is up there. It is one of my favorite movies of the past 5, if not 10 years. I loved Longlegs.
And I absolutely adored The Monkey. I think that was the most effective horror comedy in a very long time.
The Monkey was great.
So we adore Osgood Perkins. I think he's been on such a tear lately, which is why this movie threw us so much. I think this felt like such a major step back. And I want to lay this out properly because I don't really know why. I don't have a punchline that I'm driving to in the notes for this discussion.
Yeah.
I have the question, and then I just want to grapple with it in real time with you and to everyone at home. Because I can see the lineage that contributes to this movie, especially within horror, of things you and I love. I think there's so much of the witch in this movie.
Yes.
You get more and more of kind of a folk horror magic system thing that rolls out and some supernatural stuff that's grounded but still surreal. And it's kind of perfectly calibrated there. I see how it's pulling from The Witch. I see how it's pulling from Barbarian.
Yes.
I see how it's pulling from something like The Invitation with sort of the social horror that it's pulling in here. I mean, this is a single location, folk horror tinged, slow burn horror movie with a relationship at the center.
Right. It has all
of
the
that
ingredients.
Should work for us both. And even more so, this is coming from the writer of Dangerous Animals, which came out earlier this year. And I think that was the wonderful shark horror thing that we saw. And we had such a good time with that. I think that evoked Saw better than any kind of Saw clone-ish puzzle box horror movie has in a long while. So throwing the question to you now, with all of those comparisons, with all of that lineage that should be tailor-made for us, why did none of this movie work for either of us at all?
I know. I'm trying to work through it, and it feels very similar to what happened with Nosferatu, which was a similar situation. It's a creator we love and adore and trust. It's all the ingredients. Nosferatu is this gothic 19th century vampire story that's dedicated deeply to historical accuracy, and it's got all these actors we like. Like, it had all the ingredients that we were excited about too, and that one felt so hollow and disappointing. And we even saw it twice and did 2 episodes about it, and we spent a long time unpacking it, and we came to some conclusions, but we didn't come away with it it was this, it was this one thing. And I think that's what's happening here with Keeper. And just like our Nosferatu episodes, we are going to spoil this movie because you have to talk about it. The trailers are really vague and very vibey and atmospheric, which is a kind of horror trailer that I love because I like coming in with a lot of mystery and not knowing what to expect. But we have to spoil it to talk about it. And I think the biggest challenge I had was that I was just bored. The whole movie, I was like, I don't care about what's happening. I don't care about anything scary happening because hardly anything scary is happening. And I know I'm supposed to be emotionally invested in these characters in the story, but I'm just not. So I was bored.
And to clarify, is that something that happens with you often during movies, during horror movies, during slow burn horror movies?
No, I love a slow burn. I know one of the biggest, dumbest critiques of The Witch when it came out was, it's so slow, nothing happens. And I say it like that because that is an idiot's perspective and you're wrong. I welcome multiple perspectives, except for that one. But that movie, The Witch, is full of such tension and atmosphere and character and relationships. And you are so edge of your seat, desperate to know what happens next, even when you're just looking at a shot of the woods or you're just watching the family eat dinner. There's so much dramatic stuff happening within the entirety of The Witch, even in the slowest moments. In this, it was like, I'm eating some cake and my boyfriend doesn't love me that much. But I think if you're gonna have such a central focus on your main character, which here is Liz, I think is her name. The fact that I don't know her name, I think is telling. You've got to make her interesting, or at least like have some modicum of depth. All I know about Liz after watching this whole movie and spending most of it with her is that she's a mediocre painter and doesn't have a lot of self-confidence. And like, that's it. I know nothing else about her life, her personality, her interests, her hopes and dreams, anything. The same way I don't know anything about Malcolm, except he's a guy who has a cabin and kind of doesn't treat his girlfriend great.
And a bad cousin.
Right. And then of course I learned at the end that he's a murderer, but an immortal murderer, but that's different. So there was just nothing in the story that gripped me, that interested me, that connected me. Did you have that similar experience?
Yeah, I'm glad you laid it out there, because that's actually more kind of detail and texture than I had on the point, because whether we love or dislike a movie, I think we always try to start with the script, and it might be too simplistic to just say all the problems are within the script, because
sure,
I do think there are other issues here. And again, we trust the writer from previous projects, and that's why I'm so thrown by this experience. But it's not just that. You also mentioned the posters and how vague and kind of mood board the trailers were. I actually really liked the marketing for this movie.
I was set. I was ready to go. It was like absolutely day one. Not just because it was Osgood Perkins. Even without that name on it, I would have been interested in this movie.
Yeah, I think the posters were great. I really love how, I guess, do we still use this word, vibey? The trailers were. I thought all of that was effective and really piqued my interest and curiosity in the film. I was totally sold from all that. And just watching the thing, I kept coming back to the word hollow. And I'm glad that you brought up Nosferatu, because I think there was a similar lurch in my feelings there where I couldn't have been anticipating it more. And I felt so thrown and rudderless during the experience. It also reminded me of Jordan Peele's Us.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a film with such striking imagery and color in particular. And that's why I brought up the marketing, because the use of that really bright blue in the font, I thought was really novel in the way this movie was presented to the audience.
Yes.
And for having such striking imagery with the candles and the monsters and look like they're made out of wood almost, and the long necks, and there was such striking, memorable imagery and color.
Yeah.
But I felt like there was almost nothing under the surface, and that's how I felt about Us.
Yeah.
If it
agreed.
was a silent film and kind of this music video, I think it would have been fascinating, but I just didn't find any of the underlying ideas compelling. They didn't sell me on why this had to be. The necessity, the urgency, the point of the story never landed for me.
Right, because even once you get the final reveal of Malcolm is this immortal being who has to kill these women to survive, I didn't really understand why even then, because he doesn't seem to be enjoying doing this. He seems to really regret having to kill these women, especially this one who he supposedly loves. Again, he says he does. I don't ever get that feeling at all. Nothing between the characters indicates that. But it seems like he's sort of like sad that he has to do this. But I'm like, well, why? Why can't you just stop and die? Is there like a larger goal you're trying to achieve? Are you really invested in living forever? Like, most people, if given the choice, would not live forever. That sounds horrible. When no one else around you does, like being immortal sounds like total shitty situation. So why are you still doing this? Why not just kill yourself and end it? Like, what's going on? I don't understand. Like, again, I don't care about what's happening, and I don't care about the final reveal, because it's like, well, okay, so what? Like, there's just no interest, there's no oomph, there's no why, there's nothing gets me there.
Because those big revelations with the previous wives or women or victims, that, especially being in the basement, that just felt like I don't know, an ineffective version of the first Black Phone. I feel like we went from a not great version of The Invitation to Barbarian to Black Phone, and then we just wrapped it up by turning into The Witch, and I don't think any of those comparisons are favorable.
And if you want to bring it back to Dangerous Animals, which is the same screenwriter, that does the, hidden box of documentation of all the past female victims way better than this one does.
Yeah, totally.
So, and I won't spoil it in case you haven't seen it, but go watch Dangerous Animals. It's excellent. It's not just a shark movie; it's a serial killer movie with sharks. It's great. But so, like, I'm baffled by this. It's an interesting concept of guy is immortal, kills women to survive, but you got to do something with it and not just be like, that's it. It doesn't make sense to me.
To look kind of beyond the script a little bit and talk about the direction, I felt so uninvested in what Osgood Perkins was doing here too. Mm-hmm. Because I believe he wrote Longlegs. I can't remember if he wrote The Monkey, but Longlegs is kind of the one we're most championing here.
Yeah, well, and The Monkey is an adaptation, but yeah.
But if he was solely the director on this project, I was underwhelmed by what he did there too. I was surprised because it felt... I recognized some of those kind of signature camera moves, that use of negative and liminal space. Mm-hmm. He uses so much, remember Longlegs, the discussion was about how much headroom he had in every shot, right. How it was zoomed out and angled up compared to how most other people would shoot these scenes.
And there are so many like wonderful hidden like devil horns in the background of a lot of those shots. And so you're constantly searching through that liminal negative space, and it makes you feel uncomfortable and unsafe and unmoored and terrified for your main character. And that's not really, I didn't really feel that here.
No, I recognized a lot of those beats, especially from Longlegs, but it felt almost rote or redundant here. It didn't feel like it was serving the story. I didn't feel like it was as meticulously planned out and rich and rewarding.
And specific to the movie.
And this was all about weird shit hiding in the margins, and I didn't notice much of that here either. I mean, a couple times with the kind of Invisible Man thing of the breath on the window and the little...
the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe it's that I'm used to it. Right? Maybe it's that when you see a couple movies from a director you really like, especially 3 movies within the course of 2 or 3 years, he cranks these things out, which I admire. But maybe it's just that it doesn't feel novel or punchy anymore. But I don't know. His direction didn't do anything for me. The script didn't do anything for me. If we're trying to look at all these different elements, I don't find a saving grace here.
Right. And what's really bothering me is that I wasn't scared. And not every horror movie has to be deeply scary. Like The Monkey, for example, is more of a horror comedy, and it's not really scary. It's more gory and exciting and, kind of jumpy, intense, but it's not scary, but it's not really supposed to be. Versus Longlegs scared the fucking shit out of me. That movie was so scary both times that we saw it. And a big part of that is Nicolas Cage's performance, but it's also just the way the movie is directed. Like we said, you're constantly searching through this terrifying liminal space, and you're so invested in what's happening, and you're so afraid for your character, and the music is amazing. And here it was just like, I was a little scared at the very beginning because I didn't know what was going on. And you've got those like, everything's fine and then something's about to not be fine. So the first scene where she's in the bath, I was like, ooh, what's going to happen? And then when kind of nothing did happen and then proceeded to not happen.
You also don't love chocolate cake.
Well, there's that.
Maybe that was scary for you.
That was terrifying. I became less and less afraid because the movie was over and over proving to me that it was not scary. And there was maybe 1 or 2 moments where it was like a jump scare because it was like a big loud sound cue, but I wasn't afraid. I just jumped. And this movie could have been so scary. It could have been so atmospheric and daunting and tense, and it just wasn't. And I was like, what are we doing? It was disappointing.
Well, for a visual medium, you brought up Nicolas Cage there. Let's spend a minute talking about the performances in Keeper.
Sure. What performances? They kind of just sat there and said the lines. So is that how you felt? Because that's how I felt.
Mean, let's keep it to the central couple.
Yeah.
Because that was most of the movie. Mm-hmm. What didn't work for you there?
I just didn't see these people as human beings. I saw them as people sitting in front of a camera saying lines. And I know part of it is that Liz, our main character, she seems to be pretty... Like, she's not very emotive. She's not very expressive. She keeps a lot of stuff inside. She's not very honest. But I didn't get any, inner turmoil on her face. I didn't get... On the outside, she's presenting as being happy to be here with Malcolm, but on the inside, she's stressed about something. I didn't get that from her face, from any of her face acting. I got it from when she's talking to her friend on the phone, but I didn't believe it. I was just being told it. And the same with Malcolm. He... just seemed like kind of like this boring, much older man. The whole movie, I was like, why is she with this guy? He's way older than her. He's not particularly nice or interesting or funny or charming. He's not even all that good looking. He's just like a very normal looking man. So I was like, why is she with him? I didn't understand that either. So nothing in the way that these actors were performing was getting me to understand who they were or why they were together or why we should care about them.
And I think that's one of the stranger corollaries for me because Tatiana Maslany was in The Monkey. She was the kid's mom in the kind of flashback parts.
That's right. She was great.
And I thought she was I thought she did some really kind of profound work in that movie with not having much screen time.
Sure.
I thought, especially the way so much of the grief that fed the horror of that movie was on her shoulders. And I thought she did an incredible job framing that within the movie. So that was one of the big reasons I was looking forward to this movie, was seeing her get center stage here. And I think for me, it was that it felt like the leads were in different movies. I found such discordance between their performances that almost rendered both of them limp, because they were always at odds. And obviously, eventually, the characters are at odds as well. Sure. There's not a happy ending here. But that didn't feel any better for me either. I think it was that the characters on their own felt false. I didn't really ever believe in them. But it was also that, like you laid out there, the relationship between them felt unnatural as well. And when we were introduced to the cousin and his Russian girlfriend the first time, I thought, okay, maybe this is what the tone is going for here, because the relationships felt so uncomfortable and unnatural between the what's his name and the Malcolm and his cousin. So I thought, okay, maybe we're doing like an early Yorgos Lanthimos thing.
I was going to say Yorgos,
everyone's stilted and uncomfortable on purpose. But I don't know. Once it receded back to the central couple, it might have been intentional, but regardless, it didn't work for me.
No, it didn't work for me either.
And I want to talk about, editing for a second, because I think that was another big part of why you liked Longlegs.
And why we didn't like Nosferatu. I remember us talking about the editing a lot in that discussion.
Because both of those movies feed on dread.
Yes.
And atmosphere. And I think the real testament to any slow burn story being effective is editing. It's more than, I think, writing or directing. I think editing is maybe the premier challenge there, and the person to congratulate if the thing is successful.
Yes.
And I thought the editing was unusually off here as well. This film felt incredibly long to me, and I don't dislike long films. I love long films. I'd go see Barry Lyndon once a month. I don't care about that.
Right.
I like movies with intermissions. I don't care. But it was that even when the thing was moving and stuff was happening, it felt flat.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, just there were long stretches of this movie where I felt like nothing was really happening, either in the plot or the characters. No tension was being built. It was just these weird extended sequences where she's in the house alone and is feeling vaguely confused or afraid. But everything just felt a little too long. And I think that could work to create unease and tension, but it didn't. It just made me, again, I just felt bored.
I wasn't interested. I don't know what's happening in my throat today. You know this happens sometimes. I wasn't compelled by the drama between the characters.
Right.
I wasn't scared by the monsters, and the central mystery of who's who and why are they here, that didn't grip me either. I just feel like I didn't have a handhold at any point during the film, because we see plenty of movies where some of those things don't work for us, but there's one mystery, there's one hook that carries you through.
Sure.
And I just didn't find one of those here through the whole runtime.
Do you think it would have been interesting, and I'm wondering this kind of as we're talking, but also because of the way that one of the trailers led me to think this movie was going to be, do you think it would have helped if, instead of us having our primary focus be on Liz and Malcolm, if we had spent maybe not equal, but a lot more time with the past women, and it was almost like an anthology unfolding, and maybe we flip back and forth, it's not one after the other, but if we flip back and forth and see parallels and get to know those women as characters, that might have made up for Liz's lackluster character. Like, because one of the trailers shows all of those women, and so you kind of think, oh, it's going to take place over multiple, decades and centuries, and it's going to be, all these parallel stories, and how cool. And then it's just, you just get flashes of them dying, and you're like, oh, that's it. What do you think? How do you think the film would have felt if it had been more that direction?
I think that would have been better. I think what you're laying out here is almost a structural issue of how the plot could have been better served by a totally different way of telling this story. But if you look at this as sort of a cyclical horror, the more we see that shelf of all the previous women, like Dangerous Animals, we see that this is a game that is being played over and over within this singular location. But it didn't feel scary or thoughtful or melancholic enough for you. I think what you're describing is one of the best horror movies of the year, and that is Presence from Steven Soderbergh.
Oh, yeah.
And that does everything here better.
That's interesting.
Where that's, if you haven't seen, that's basically a haunted house movie from the perspective of a ghost.
It's so cool. It's so good.
It is emotionally devastating. It is underspoken, kind of undersold. And I think that's why the thoughtfulness makes sense, because you're from this incredibly subjective perspective, but you're seeing so much happening that it feels larger than life. It feels grander. It feels impossible in a way that it's incredibly rewarding. I think Presence does everything this didn't do.
That's an interesting comparison. It's a very different kind of movie, but I understand that.
Because if we'd spent more time with the monsters, and then maybe we'd gotten that classic reveal that the monsters were the incarnations of the previous wives,
right?
That would have been kind of a mic drop moment that made it all click into place for us. But I don't know. Weird wood monsters with long necks. I never felt sad for them. I never felt scared by them. I never felt interested in them.
Right.
And the rest of it didn't really land for me. Again, there are interesting images. His head being lowered into the honeypot thing at the end.
Yeah,
that was
cool.
Interesting. And that felt like, oh, this is Osgood Perkins. He frames an interesting moment and kill. He's always good at that. But yeah, I think Presence is the movie you're describing. That's the missing link here. There's Barbarian, Invitation, The Witch, Black Phone, and Presence.
But again, all of those comparisons don't serve the movie. They're actually to the movie's detriment.
Yes.
It's pretty frustrating. So I really hope that this was just a weird flop, and I hope that his next projects are wonderful again. Like, I hope this isn't like an indicator of a weird direction, because it's really frustrating to watch somebody that you respect and admire so much create something that you just don't connect with.
And we still respect and admire him.
Well, yeah, of course. I'm not like, oh, he sucks now. Like, that's not what I'm saying at all.
And I think that's why this is a discussion and not some shitty review.
And I'm not saying that anybody in this movie sucked. Like, even the actors. Like, it's just a movie is a very complicated result of efforts from hundreds of people coming together, and sometimes that works really well and sometimes it doesn't, and it's so unfair to be like, well, this person made the movie bad. Like, that's very rare that happens. It's much more complicated than that, and it's a miracle when a movie does work. So it's frustrating when this happens, and it's interesting to try to unpack why, but it's not just, I'm not saying that people were bad at their jobs here. That's not what I mean at all.
And I've seen some people online who the film really worked for, and I'm happy for them.
Oh, that's great.
I wish it worked for me.
What's that like?
But yeah, I mean, his next movie he's filming right now, and I believe Nicole Kidman just joined. So I'm very interested to see what happens with that
Love her.
pair. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the next one, and I feel like I have a better understanding now of why this one didn't hit for us.
Me too.
But yeah, this might be kind of the surprise of the year for me.
Yeah, and not in a good way, unfortunately. But yeah, listener, let us know what you thought of Keeper. Have you seen it? Do you want to? What do you think of Osgood Perkins? Also, if you are interested in us talking about movies and talking about and to a creator, may I recommend you check out our interview with Stephen Cognetti, the writer and director of the Hell House franchise. If you didn't know, we released that episode on Halloween. That was our Halloween special, and it was a wonderful interview. We got to talk with him for an hour about his creative process, and those movies are movies that really did work for us, and he's such an interesting guy. I really recommend y'all check out that interview.
Also, we spent so much of this episode talking about slow burn and resisting the critique about nothing happens. Check out our discussion of season 3 and 4 of The Bear for more on that idea.
Definitely. Yeah. Also, we did do an episode about The Witch a couple years ago, so go check that out amongst others. If you like our show and want to support us, check out our Patreon. It's $2 a month. You'll get 2 new bonus episodes every month where we talk about lots of things, including horror. Often it's a lot of horror, but it's other things too. So go check that out. It's a great place to be. Also, check out Cam's latest book, Lemon Tarts in Space. It's a light sci-fi dark comedy. If you like very compelling stories with great characters, check out
Don't do that.
I'm being funny. No, but it is great. It is a great book. You can read it as a regular book or listen to the fully produced audio drama. I said audio trauma. I meant drama, but it is traumatic. Yeah, it's the same kind of thing. It's so much fun. It's a really, really
light
great story.
Sci-fi dark comedy.
Yes. Did I say that? I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Listener, this is our 3rd episode we recorded today, so it's all blurring. It's fine.
You don't have to pull back the curtain.
I'm just saying it's all blurring.
Sometimes scheduling is tough for a podcast.
Well, that's fine. Anyway, go check it out.
Let us know what you thought of Keeper, and we'll be back in just a few days with another brand new episode.